Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scenic View podcast. We're holed up in an igloo getting ready for this winter weather. Got something to warm you up here. Enjoy the episode. So, like I mentioned, this is the Scenic View podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Owens, joined by Ardis Watkins, Executive Director of Scenic, Government Relations Director Suzanne Beasley, and Sammy Cline, Scenic Podcast Producer. And we are anxiously anticipating, is that the right phrase, blast of Arctic weather coming our way, right?
I'm kind of excited.
Oh, you.
I am
I
not.
know. I went to school in the mountains, loved the snow up there. And then also when I was little, before I moved to North Carolina, we had a little bit of snow almost every single year that I used to go out and play in. And my dog loves snow, so I'm excited for a little bit of snow.
My kids are very excited. I don't know. I mean, I grew up here too, and you did get excited once or twice a year. But
yeah, but it would be that North Carolina snow that comes one day and then the next day it melts away. That's the kind of snow I like, and it doesn't sound like that's the kind of snow we're going to get.
I know yesterday the projections were going crazy. Today is Wednesday, by the way, but yesterday
16 to 20 inches.
I think today it seems like it's shifted north a little bit, the forecast, so maybe it won't be that bad.
We're at 14 to 18 inches now.
Oh, really?
According to
that's
weather
doable around here, as long as it's not ice. I mean, I remember years where we got like 13 in it.
Yeah.
And that one year we got 2 feet.
Yeah, I remember that.
2000, I think.
Yeah.
That
crippled things more than 13 by a lot.
Yeah.
But the question is, does it have ice?
Yeah.
In it?
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's quite a bit of that coming, especially where we are.
Animal.
So.
Yeah, one report I saw, you see the line with like 14 inches of snow, but then you don't want to be south of that because that's got like 3 inches of just ice, and that's even worse.
That's where my parents are, so I'm a little nervous for them because my dad's supposed to fly out for a work trip that day. My brother and all of his friends are supposed to fly home from Utah on Sunday.
Well, it'll just look like what they left, probably.
Probably. Yeah. I would anticipate delays, but check on your people, too, because this is the kind of storm where we'll lose power.
Yeah.
And, some people may not have an alternate heating source.
But, one group it won't stop is the state employees out there taking care of the roads and the prisons and all the other vital public services out there. So we're happy you're there.
Go DOT right out the gate. I was behind a truck on my way here, so my car looks on.
Well, they're all over it. And I know that for prisons and HHS facilities, people just have to stay there. They can't come and go from it if it's that bad. So, but bear in mind, some of the state employees have to be on the roads to protect you and to keep these services going to you. So please honor what the governor asked us all and just stay off that road unless there's an emergency.
Stay out of it. And this is a public perception thing about state employees. We talk about it often that y'all don't realize that how many essential positions there are, and they have to be at work. Or if they can't get to work, then like Ardis said, they have to spend the night in prison facility or one of our residential hospitals.
Yeah. My mom used to work in a hospital, and they used to tell them if there was weather coming, all right, get a room nearby. Do what you got to do. You are going to be here tomorrow no matter what.
Yeah, God bless the people working in the hospitals, too. It's just going to be, it'll be tough. It'll be beautiful. I'm with you, Sam. It's kind of exciting. It'll be beautiful, but hopefully there's not much ice in it for anybody in North Carolina. And pray for the best.
It's funny. I grew up in a rural part of the state, and it seemed like every time you were just saying that to stay at home and not get out on the roads, but every time there's a snow, everyone with a 4-wheel drive truck wants to get out and play in the snow.
Or a four-wheeler.
A four-wheeler. Yeah, those are fun.
I used to be one of the worst about that. Yeah, it's not helpful.
Boogie board in a four-wheeler, man. It was on.
Yeah. There's always that person who says, I want to go out and see what the roads are actually like.
Boogie board and a four-wheeler. We do not recommend this. Just want to be very clear. The Scenic View says do not do that. Very bad idea.
Well,
unless you're not on roads. If you're
No. We don't recommend pulling the
woods
boogie board with the four-wheeler anywhere.
Is there like a storied hill around Raleigh where people sled or anything?
Where Ardis lives.
Yeah. Oh, really?
We won't tell that, but
Dorothea Dix Park near NC State campus for those students who just want to go out and do some sledding.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a street called Manual. And it's spelled Manuel, but everybody in Raleigh has always called it Manual. I don't ask these questions. And used to be back in the day, the city would set a big oil drum up there and people would make bonfires in it and stuff. And just, it's an incredible sledding hill. The problem is you got to walk back up it after you come down.
I would do that one time.
In this day and time, yeah. Probably.
Well, I think that's weather talk. It's going to be interesting, exciting, and possibly scary. So be careful out there. Yeah. Before we get into our topics, let's talk a little bit about our last podcast. I thought it was an awesome podcast with Billy Lassiter, the Deputy Secretary, DPS, for Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. That's a long time.
That's a title. Yeah.
He didn't make me repeat it more than once, so that was good. But he was very engaging, fascinating interview, and
such an awesome person.
Really, I did not know all the challenges that he's facing in that.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed listening as I was editing. It was a lot of things that I had no clue were a thing.
I know, me too. They're really, like I said,
we all learned a lot that day.
Yeah. I was struck by, he mentioned all the kind of unfunded mandates and things that he's dealing with. Like he has to have one staff member per 8.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because we were talking about lab salaries a little bit, and he was talking about the ratio. It's mandated that he has to have a certain number of staff per kid that's in the system, and that's what he uses lab salaries for, is temporary employees.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. So temporary employees, you probably have to pay them more, or how does that work? Or is it a reason to use temporary? I guess maybe it's just because you can't find permanent, right? Well,
I think that's the top reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it saves you a dime because, temporary help usually is more because you have to go through someone to get it right. And they have to make a profit, so they take a cut of that. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not a cost saver, but it's a desperation measure, and that's where most agencies are. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of agencies have said, we have to use this for temps.
Yeah.
But also, Deputy Secretary Lassiter pointed out, part of what he uses his lap salary money for in his agency is a mandate from the General Assembly about, I think it was the
firearm safety.
Yeah, it's about firearm safety, and he was given that mandate, but no money to do it. So by law, he has to make this happen. Mm-hmm. So he uses lap salary money to make it happen. I mean, he didn't ask.
Yeah, and it
is my understanding.
He said it was nearly unanimous.
Yeah, it was bipartisan.
Yeah, things like that sound great, but you have to fund them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and I think
it wasn't bad legislation. It was great, right. But if you're not going to fund something like that.
Because I also listened and noticed that he mentioned there was funding for it initially, and then it went through the Senate, and the funding disappeared.
Yeah, the House. The House included it, but the Senate didn't. And
which is often the case. The House is going to have something that the Senate doesn't want. The Senate's going to have something that the House doesn't want. That's where you come down to negotiations.
But his experience is, from what we're hearing, it's a theme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theme going for sure from the agencies. They're speaking out a lot now, it seems, Suzanne.
Agreed.
Last week was very busy for that. We started with State Auditor Dave Bullock's report about lap salaries, and then Leslie Dismukes from DAC spoke in a committee. Where are all these reports coming from?
So it's kind of oversight committee reporting.
Okay.
That, was due to happen anyway. So Secretary Dismukes presented in the JLOC, Joint Legislative Oversight Committee, on JPS last week. And I tell you, just about every statistic or comment that she gave, she ended it with, we don't have enough staff, and it's pay.
Yeah. And then Secretary of State Elaine Marshall spoke up in the Council of State meeting, right?
And at the legislature.
And at the legislature.
She was very blunt. She said, look, we literally, as an agency, not only help businesses facilitate getting all their paperwork and required legal hoops jumped through, but we make money for the state in doing that. So we help keep the economic engine of the state going in two ways. We help business get up and running faster, and we bring in money doing it. And so we're losing on both ends, according to Secretary of State Marshall.
She made the point that the state's grown so much, but her staff has not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to recap, since 2009, North Carolina's grown by 2 million people, from 9 to 11 million, roughly. That's a massive jump. But the number of state employees is less than 1% higher than then. And if the cuts go through that were recommended between the House and Senate, we will actually have less state employees serving 2 million more people than we did in 2009.
Right. Mm. And this was a big deal with the DMV stuff. I mean, DMV had not had enough employees for years. And then we've grown our population by 2 million people, still with the same number of employees up until this past year when I think it was 62 new examiners were hired finally.
And I've seen that people, in response to us giving that information out, which, by the way, is not our information, it comes from the General Assembly's website under the Fiscal Research Division, their portion of the General Assembly's website. When we give those numbers out, some people say, well, that just shows we can do with less state employees.
Yeah.
No, really? Because if you were in one of those DMV lines, not so much. Mm-hmm. If you were a family member or friend of any of the 5 correctional officers killed about 8 years ago, murdered because we didn't have enough staff, then you wouldn't think so. If you had a newborn who didn't get newborn screening on time, you wouldn't think so.
Even the people who have to commute to a job every day and get frustrated with traffic because of constructions going on roads. Mm-hmm. Not enough DOT workers to get those projects done faster.
Right. And the Division of Emergency Management actually just put out a study that was commissioned that shows Hurricane Helene relief was delayed. We all assumed it, but they verified it was delayed in part because state and local governments were not fully staffed. The vacancies hindered our ability to help Western North Carolina bounce back, and that's not acceptable. So it's wrong to state employees to do this, but to think that we're doing just fine by not giving our taxpayers the amount of services we were willing to give them almost 20 years ago, that's not the reality. And even if you don't care about the state employees, another thing from the General Assembly's website we've been sharing, states like Virginia and Georgia, who have increased their number of state employees, have had a gross state product that's grown higher. It's grown at a faster rate than ours. Ours is not terrible, but why would you not want it to be that much better? So the investment, I think it's sometimes sold to the public as, hey, we got to cut these jobs and then we can do more for business.
Yeah.
And it appears that that's not the reality. And by the way, this is gross state product per capita.
Yeah.
You can look at it 2 ways, and it's my understanding the per capita way is actually the more efficient of the ways.
So you sent a letter to Governor Stein, Speaker Hall, and Senate President Phil Berger. I wouldn't say you are arguing with the Dave Committee's report, but you were absolutely pointing out maybe some of the things that should have also been addressed in the report.
Well, I think you can't help, if that's the only thing out there, you can't help but be left with the impression, and especially the headlines, and to a degree, the way it was presented in the legislature. I was in that committee room. You're left with the impression that agencies have all these positions they're not filling. They haven't been filling them forever. They're just using it as a slush fund. Auditor Bullock and his staff never used that term. They never said they're using it as a slush fund. But you were left with that impression. And that's the way it's been written about. And that's kind of the alarmism that we've seen since that time. And I feel like, number one, if we want to talk about inefficiency, these vacancies and the amount it costs in turnover when people don't stay in a state job because you're not paying enough, that costs so much money.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. That's the first thing you should look at. No one ever talks about what it costs us, to have to pay the cost of turnover. And then you didn't hear things in that report. We were told, we're going to come back and we'll tell you what the agencies said. And I'm sure it's all there. It's on the dashboard. It's in the report and whatnot. But is anybody ever going to come back to the microphone and say, Deputy Secretary Lassiter couldn't fill jobs because he was trying to keep North Carolina in compliance with federal law? And by the way, you lose money if you don't stay in compliance with the law on top of it just being unlawful. Are people going to come back to the mic and say those things?
Yeah.
And I'm concerned the answer to that would be no. So that's why we wrote the letter on behalf of our our members they're working for agencies that are underfunded.
We were able to uncover part of the statute that was kind of strange
I don't think
right?
we uncover. I mean, we really
point it out. We'll point it.
Yeah, we're not thinking, and no one in the room was thinking about it or talking about it. The fact that there is a statute that says any job that the House or Senate proposed to cut, that's frozen. So you can't even try to fill it. So when you see these numbers the auditor's office was putting on the screen of days those jobs have been vacant, well, since July 1, they've been vacant. So that's 7 months, because they're not allowed to fill them.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got some agency heads who are really frustrated over that, and they don't feel but so free to go complaining about that at the same time. It's a tough position to be in as an agency head.
So put your constitutional lawyer cap on for just 1 second. How is that constitutional? That it's like a de facto cutting of jobs, right? Because it's not passed into law, and yet it still has the same effect, right?
Well, I mean, they can cut the jobs if they want to cut the jobs. So I don't think there's anything.
No, I was just
you're trying to stir it. Yeah. I do think, however, what we're missing a couple of key points here. And it was disturbing that committee didn't talk about the fact that, hey, media, so that y'all are aware, about 200 days of these jobs, they couldn't have filled them. But there's the other dark side of all this that I like to call it. In 2023, we've talked about it on this podcast, the state budget, over $1 billion went back to the state that was sent to the agencies to be used for salaries. Vacancies were so bad in 2023. I mean, just awful. So over $1 billion goes back to the state. Well, that makes the state look like it's in better financial shape than it technically is if it's able to keep a 2009 level of staffing for its taxpayers, giving the same amount of services. We can't possibly give the same amount of services to 2 million more people. So that's one thing. And then in 2024, the total receipts brought in to the state were $471 million over what they projected. But $571 million went back to the state coffers because it wasn't used on jobs, like the $1 billion plus the year before that.
So they would have been in a deficit if that hadn't happened, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know that receipts, I think you still came in with your receipts over, but you came in that much over. Mm-hmm. So it makes the state look at us, we're doing great because we got all this money. Well, not really, because we're not providing the services we were back in the day.
Right.
We're providing less services. But, it also gives a lot of fuel to the arguments to cut taxes. And the concern there is at some point you're going to run out of this money that's reverting because of these vacant salaries. And in the meantime, your taxpayers are standing in lines longer than they should. Your businesses are waiting for longer than they should to get things processed and get their businesses up and running. And God forbid, somebody's going to die or get terribly hurt because we don't have enough people in these law enforcement type jobs, prisons, HHS facilities.
I mean, we've seen that happen. And we hear from these folks every day. Literally every day, somewhere, something happens.
Oh, yeah.
Both in the DHHS facilities and in prison facilities.
DAC Secretary Leslie Dismukes said exactly that in her testimony. She said, if we do not address these issues, something bad will happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I feel like we've been living in that same world at least since 2017 when we had those 5 deaths. It hasn't improved dramatically. And I think it's kind of a testament.
No. Actually, John, where we are now, your overall vacancy rate across the entire prison system is at least where Pasquotank and Bertie, the 2 prisons involved in 2018, were at that time. And at that time, those vacancy rates for those 2 prisons were considered outrageously high. And that's now
the norm.
And in some cases, we had prisons recently as high as 50 or 60% vacant.
Yeah, like was
in terms
Craggy
of staff.
Up in the mountains.
Yeah, and these are employees too that they're working mandatory overtime because there's not enough staff to cover the floor. So they're burnout, they're tired. It's just a bad mix, period.
So the next person that gets on our Facebook page and says we need to fire all state employees and they're they're useless and all the jargon they always throw at us. Just remember that that's why things are still just by the grace of God and their courage, I guess. But anyway, I had to bring the mood down there a little bit, huh? But
no, I think it's real.
It's truth.
So where do we go from here with the Dave report on lapse salary? And I guess all of this will just be sorted out in the legislative session?
I would assume a lot of it. Legislature comes back on April 21st. We'll see where they are at that point. Primaries are on March 3rd. So between now and then, legislators can't actually do any business while they're campaigning. So there won't be any voting sessions or anything to address issues until after the primary elections. So, possibly something could happen between the primaries and the time they come back. There's a little chatter of that, but we don't anticipate that being a realistic thing.
Agreed. It sticks in my head that Auditor Bullock has said in the last couple weeks publicly that part of what his report showed in his mind is that we need to invest more in certain places in state government. We wholeheartedly agree with that. The problem is this focus on the lapsed salary money, with the presentation being the way it was, and then no one acknowledging these frozen jobs, accounting for at least 200 days of that mess. I appreciate his comments, but it's like you can't unring the bell that was rung in committee and that people are running with. And so what we have been saying is, look, it seems that there's a lot of folks in the legislature we've talked to who seem to kind of want to use this as a pretext to push those cuts on through.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a lot of media response to this issue, which I've been excited about. You were on the radio this week with WPTF Morning News, and then...
Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday, and it was Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday, yeah. And we had several stories. Shout out to Stephanie Mashi for doing an interview with WRAL. She's our DHHS study committee chairwoman, and also she works in Medicaid, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
So she's got a very tough job.
She does, and she's a plethora of information.
So you'll probably see us in the news. But shout out to Stephanie.
Yeah, we need folks to, you get an encouragement from us all the time to reach out to your legislators, but this is specific.
We need more people like Stephanie, right?
Yeah, to speak out, to talk about this. Talk about this with your friends and neighbors, your family members. Don't just call your legislator. I want you to do that too, because they need to hear this from state employees everywhere. But, most people know somebody who's a state employee. So have conversations in your community. Stephanie is very much that kind of a person who's going to be talking about the situation with Medicaid with anyone who will listen. So
I think that the default with the public, as we've talked about several times, is always, negative towards state employees. But if our members can, show them that they are state employees, that this is who this affects.
Well, I think people don't know what they're not getting that they used to get routinely.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that I love when talking to my friends about it, because we're all Gen Zs. Me and my friends, they like to complain. It happens. Sometimes when we're talking to each other, it turns into political conversations of them being upset about certain things. And sometimes it has to do with the lack of state employees, because my friends will say, oh, I can't get into the DMV. I haven't been able to get into the DMV. And I'm like, you know why that is?
Yeah, because there's a whole
there's
story
no state
about
employees.
There's reasons that's happening that just your average citizen doesn't stop and think about. They don't know.
They would have no reason to know.
Yeah.
My parents half the time wouldn't know that that's the reason, because I'll talk to them about certain DOT projects. I'll look on the DOT website because they'll say there's been construction going on this road and this road and this road, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a contracted project. That's
Sammy's little DOT.
It's gonna take a while.
She's stepping up.
Hey, I was an intern for them. I love them. They're great.
Oh, I did see one of my friends. She lives in Fuquay-Varina, and the other day she posted a picture at the DMV, and she was like, there was nobody in there, and she was like, no lines at the DMV. It took me 7 minutes to get my everything I needed done. Shout out to, and she's not a state employee, but
what happened? They gave some jobs to them.
I know exactly
that they needed to give forever, because they had not gotten any jobs to match the 2 million people that we added. And let's be honest, the auditor's office got 50 jobs added to do this vital work on looking at efficiencies.
And they've been throwing out report after report.
Right. So it would be great and appropriate and productive. And by the way, looks like it would help our gross state product the way it did Virginia and Georgia if we did that in other agencies as well. So why should it be limited? We need services across the board. And our university system, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
They're having to do so much more with so much less as well. They are providing the workforce that we hope would stay here. But
because you also think about more and more people moving to North Carolina, which means more students at the universities in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yet they don't have enough teachers and professors to teach all the classes that are required for them to produce the workforce that they're producing.
Because it is shameful what we pay people to be professors, to be clear. Shameful.
And sometimes people question why it's so hard for people to finish a bachelor's degree now in 4 years, because you can't get into the classes you need to graduate with that degree because they can only offer so many of that class because there's only so many professors qualified to teach those classes.
And to bring us full circle back to Billy Lassiter's interview, I thought it surprised me that I guess, he has a 40% vacancy rate. And he said that's partly because he has to attract people who have bachelor's degrees to these jobs, and they're making very little.
$37,000 a year.
Yeah, and that's almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, who can live on that?
Because they're trying to do a job. I mean, it's with juveniles. You especially want to make sure you've got people in there that are not sketchy people, in addition to being trained to deal with apparently multiple mental health issues many times, to educate while you're doing all of that, and to try to get them ready for when they turn 18. Because again, we cannot scream when things happen, when crime happens, untreated mental illness and untreated, things the system didn't deal with. Causes the obvious result. And somebody goes out and they victimize somebody else, or they become a victim. And then we think, why in the world is this happening? Well, come on.
Yeah.
If you don't invest in something bad's going to happen. If you don't change the oil in your lawnmower, eventually it's not going to run.
Exactly. Well, I think that'll do us for this week. We'll slide on to Gen Z moment. What's going on in the world of Gen Z, Sammy?
Yeah, so people have probably seen the monks who are doing their Walk for Peace.
Yes.
They are currently in North Carolina. They've already gone through Charlotte. They're expected to be in Raleigh by Friday or Saturday. I've done a little bit of research on it. Hopefully, the weather is good for you guys to go out and support them.
So are they going to walk through the snow, I wonder?
Probably.
Oh, wow.
Probably.
Okay, I have a question for you, Sammy. Why is this a Gen Z moment?
Because the Gen Zs have been going out a lot to support the monks who are doing the Walk for Peace. And it's also been talked about that it's not a common thing. The monks only do the Walk for Peace when it's drastic and you need it. This is not something that they lightly said, we're going to do a Walk for Peace.
Are they Americans or are they from somewhere else?
Different places.
Okay.
But a lot of people have been going out there giving them food, giving them water. They are not asking for food and water. The most respectful thing that I've seen that you can do when going out to support the Walk for Peace is to simply bow in respect to them and just be out there in support in silence rather than cheering and handing them all these things.
I need monks in my life.
Yeah, look, their energy has affected the collective. I mean, you literally can feel.
Yeah. That is why so many people are going out and supporting the Walk for Peace.
Crazy big, and they've grown. They started off in Texas.
I
believe it was. I think that's where they're. Is it a monastery?
Yeah, I wonder why they selected to go through the South. I don't know.
Cruising right through the Bible.
Yeah. Maybe they thought it wouldn't be cold and snowy.
Well, they got to get to Virginia somehow, so.
Yeah, they're headed to D.C.
Yeah.
So.
They're doing the Sherman's March. Anyway. Okay, well, that's cool. Anything else going on? You know Taylor Swift news that I can think of?
I mean, I do know some Taylor Swift news. More text messages about the Blake Lively, Taylor Swift, Justin Baldoni Ends With Us stuff have been released.
That's a problem.
I mean, It's hard to say where things are going with that right now because it seems as though Taylor was a little more involved in those messages and stuff than we were first led to believe. But at the same time, if she was only hearing Blake's side of the story, she doesn't know Justin's side.
Yeah.
Then she might have. That's something any girl would do for their best friend. They hear that someone's making them uncomfortable. They're like, okay, I got your back. I'm here. What do you need from me? I'll burn the world to the ground for you.
Yeah.
But if she's only hearing one side, she doesn't know Justin Baldoni's side, then she might have, once that side came out, she might have been like, whoa. Not my problem. Don't do this.
in the middle of some drama.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what I take from that is we need some Gen Z women particularly to get to know the problem with the state employee issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And have their back.
You get one of...
Yeah, they're apparently quite loyal.
Oh, yeah.
Well, next week we'll have a treat. Hopefully, probably going to have Secretary Dismukes on the podcast next week.
Yeah, that'll be a great conversation.
I always say probably because you don't know what's going, especially with the weather.
Permitting.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, weather permitting.
Yeah.
And if not next week, soon. She had such great things not great, but important information to share at the legislature, and we want to share that with you.
I don't think we've talked to her yet.
No, we tried to schedule her initially, and then our building stuff happened, our little mess with our building.
So my question of the week this week.
John's wacky weird question of the week
is, what is one thing you love about the snow and one thing you hate about snow/cold weather? And I'll start. I guess the one thing I love is to see my kids and dogs having fun out there. And the reason I brought this question up is the thing I hate about it is I have terrible eczema on my hands, and when it gets cold, it explodes.
Yeah.
And so I'm dealing with an issue right now. I don't know why. What's the cold got to do with it? I guess it's dry.
So dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm dealing with that right now. So that's mine. What about you?
I am. Well, the joy of grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
seeing the snow because they're still baby-ish. So the snow's exciting for them, and it's just cold, man. I'm not down with that anymore.
Yeah, you just get to a certain point, you're like, nah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can remember going through a certain point in life when, I had my own personal summer every day, but that time has passed, and I find myself cold more than I used to be. So, yeah, that's, I don't know. You age, you get a little arthritis, things start hurting. I don't like the cold.
For me, it's sledding still is my favorite thing. And then...
Do you get out there and do it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I still have my original flexible flyer.
That's so awesome.
But several other... I mean, sledding is a
hurt.
serious issue at my house.
Oh, okay.
And then, I know. Don't get hurt is on my mind. Then, look, for me, the negative has become this almost irrational fear of the power going out.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
As though we would, actually freeze when people, not really. It's not like we're the Arctic Circle or something. And anyway.
It's bad, but I think it's worse now because the Wi-Fi goes out too.
I don't even care about that.
Everybody's
honestly, it's all about the thought of being cold. I guess Suzanne on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got several books on my shelves that I'll read if I lose power. I'm ready.
got something to do.
Or you can burn them if you need to get.
I don't have a fireplace. I have nothing. I live in an apartment. My favorite thing about the snow mainly is when you go to sleep the night before and you see it starting to fall, and then you wake up to that gorgeous white blanket of snow.
And nobody's messed it up.
No one's messed it up. And I sleep I have the sunrise facing my window, so I get to wake up with the sun and see that beautiful blanket of snow. And I'm so excited for that part because the snow is supposed to start in the evening on Saturday. Nice. So it's going to be getting dark, and then I'll just get to wake up to just snow everywhere.
And it's so quiet too.
Yeah.
I guess it's because people aren't on the roads and stuff.
Yeah,
muffled.
It's peaceful.
Yeah.
Muffled everything.
Yeah. I think my least favorite thing about the snow is that just the going out in it.
Yeah.
I'm I'll go out, walk my dog. I'll throw on my snowboarding clothes, what I wear when I go snowboarding. Maybe take my snowboard out to a hill in my apartment complex. Just slide around.
You know what is also a bad thing? This
driving.
is my honorable mention. Is how people from up north make fun of us for our snow driving abilities. And
I mean, we get
that's
snow.
all you got was 2 inches and you can't drive it.
Well, I mean,
I want to redo my negative. My negative is how much the maintenance yards at DOT have been cut in the budget over the years because they do not have, according to what they tell us, near the equipment that we need to handle things much less in this kind of situation. So see, we got one more thing in about the budget.
Yeah, so if you're from up north and you've moved down here, there you go.
Stop complaining.
Nothing happens that the budget and the lack of state employees isn't a part of it.
True.
Why are you mad? Why are you mad that the whole state is shutting down and that you don't have to go to work? You don't have to go anywhere. Why are you mad about it?
Well,
you get to stay home.
Sammy, back in the day, that was a beautiful thing because there was no way to work if we were stuck in.
But see, that's the thing.
And now nothing changes.
The people from we're still going to work.
I mean, if the power goes out, no, we're not. But the Northerners, they get so mad because they're just like, oh, like these people don't know how to drive in the snow. They canceled work. They canceled this and this. And it's like, okay, and you're mad about that?
And like, that is an interesting point you bring up, Ardis. Like, why did they get rid of? Is it possibly because it's been so warm? Like they don't need.
We privatized so much that we've just sold equipment. And then our maintenance yards in some counties, like in Durham County, I know it's just a few years ago, I was told that it was at 12 people.
Yeah.
Now, you can't handle a county that size and trying to take care of things. So, that goes back to begging the question, what are we paying if we're adding? If the answer to that is, hey, don't worry, we've contracted with some people to help us with that. At what rate?
Yeah.
That is
what are we paying?
We need to go in depth on this because that is like a microcosm of our whole problem.
What does a snowfall cost? I mean, and when you look at the forecast for this snowfall, it is literally across our state.
Yeah.
And if you sell all the equipment, the people who buy that equipment, they're not going to start a snow removing company here in North Carolina because it's only 2 snows a year. Right. They're probably going to sell that to up north, right? So
just because global warming is real doesn't mean snow still doesn't happen in the South.
Whoa, okay. All right, that's a good place to end.
Big Gen Z proclamation.
Thanks, everybody. Build a snowman of us, all 4 of us, and we'll see you next week, weather permitting.